Hi everyone, my name is Kathleen Marcus, and today I will be presenting with Ryan De La Rosa. We'll be sharing an overview on behaviorism, and that's one of the key language acquisition theories. We really do want to discuss it. So I'll explain what behaviorism is, who developed it, and how it influences the way we teach English learners in the classroom. So, what is behaviorism? Behaviorism is a theory that focuses on observable behaviors rather than internal thoughts or feelings. So something that we can really kind of see what you're doing more, see how you're feeling, see how you're interacting. The main idea is that learning happens when a person's behavior changes due to repetition, practice, or reinforcement. So if like the routine changes or the reinforcement changes, how those behaviors really can reflect on the scholar and on the student. So this means really the students learn through consistency, that positive practice and that positive feedback. All right, so moving on here. So next, I really want to talk about these key theorists, the innovative thinkers. Some important behaviorist psychologists include Ivan Pavlov, who studied the conditioning with his famous dog experiment. So this was kind of an interesting one, but it was a way to really see how his dog's behaviors changed due to the positive reinforcement, the regular routine with the dog. Another example is John B. Watson, who really focused on observable learning. Another one is B.F. Skinner, who developed the idea of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning means we can shape behavior by reinforcing what we want to see more of. So if we really want to see a more consistent, value in, let's take the dog for an example of not jumping, we'll really shape the behaviors behind keeping a real consistent behavior. We don't want to see you jump. Like this is how it's going to be. So it's a really unique technique that works in a lot of different ways. Obviously with students, the dog example was just from the original Ivan Pavlov, which kind of just really gives us a look into how patterns and repetition can really make a difference. All right, moving on to our next slide here. Main concepts of behaviorism. So here are the key ideas behind behaviorism. One of the first ones is learning is a visible change of behavior. When you're learning and learning new things, you can really see that the visual change. Like if you're learning how to add and subtract and you're doing flashcards and it starts to become something that you're doing super consistently, it'll really start to change that behavior. You'll become good at adding, good at subtracting, you'll become good at math. Another example is reinforcement strengthens the desire for behavior. So giving that positive reinforcement, like an example that I have is just using a star system. Like, okay, you complete this task, you get a star. You complete this task, you get a star. You get 5 stars at the end of the week, you get a prize. This kind of gives the idea of, okay, I'm doing one thing for something good. Like that creates that idea in the head that there are rewards for doing this good behavior. Another example is punishment really reduces that desire for the behavior or the undesired behavior. So there's a lot that goes into this. Punishment, you don't want to use punishment as like a reinforcement type thing, but to give like, okay, time out if you continue to do this behavior, or take a break if you continue to do this behavior. You won't be able to use this specific tool if you're not going to use it appropriately. This will really lock in that this is an undesired behavior. So this practice and repetition really helps students to remember the consistency. Immediate feedback really also does support the improvement. So if the scholar is doing something positive, let them know right away that this is a positive task. This is something that we positively want to do. All right, moving on to the next slide. excuse me, behaviorism in language learning. So, in language learning, behaviorism influenced teaching methods like the audio lingual method, which uses repetition, memorization, and drills. So, for example, as a teacher, I might say, I'm walking, and students will repeat together, I'm walking. So, let's try it together. I'm walking. Good. Great. So mistakes are corrected immediately, and then the correct responses are reinforced with praise. So, however, if the students and scholars weren't to have said, I'm walking right away, then we would just right away address, hey, I am saying I'm walking. Let us all together go ahead and say, I'm walking, and continue to repeat this process until the students are understanding the concept of this is what the task is at hand. These are the positive reinforcements if we complete the task versus vice versa. All right, so that is all I have for you today. And moving on, my presentation partner, Ryan De La Rosa, will be presenting the rest. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you once again, Katie, for that introduction. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan De La Rosa, and I will be presenting the second part of this presentation. Now, behaviorism as a learning platform allows students to thrive in building confidence through success, as well as encouraging participation through things like group activities and getting them involved in lesson plans. Now, English language learners are able to master pronunciation, vocabulary, and better comprehend sentence patterns through real-world practice. Many of the barriers that English learners encounter can easily be deterred by a meaningful and well thought out behaviorist outline. By using translators and translation devices, educators can further contact and communicate with students who would otherwise be ostracized in a learning environment that is supposed to be inclusive. This allows for us to use effective reinforcement strategies that we talked about in previous videos. These strategies are built on patience and understanding of a culturally literate classroom environment. For English learners, behaviorism can be powerful because it provides structure, predictability, and encouragement. EL students benefit from clear routines, modeled language, and positive reinforcement. For example, praising students when they use full sentences or new vocabulary helps them build confidence and motivation. This leads us into our next point on classroom examples. Behaviorism stresses creating a routine for students to follow, as it can allow for students to become accustomed to and feel comfortable in learning environments that require vulnerability. Things as simple as modeling sentences for students can create a buffer zone for trial and error for students, allowing them to see the correct manner of doing things so that they in return can say or do something the right way. Visuals also serve as a staple of student achievement. Seeing which students may be visual learners allows us to implement strategies such as picture cards or even videos and illustrations into our routines. Visually showing students the correct way of doing things goes a long ways in a world of visual elements. One example I always think of in my own mentorship is putting on a recap of world news in the morning, so students know what's going on across the world and they're becoming accustomed to a routine that involves paying attention to the front of the classroom. Routines like these are the foundation for a days-long curriculum that will meet resistance regardless of how well thought out the behavior strategies implemented may be. This is why such a rigid routine is crucial to bogging down those long days where students may be lagging behind in the classroom. I think it is really important for educators to remember that brain breaks are necessary for students who have been in the classroom all day long. These brain breaks allow students to break from the monotony and stresses of school life. Not only do these things, but it allows them to be prepared to learn in a new subject. Now, in conclusion, strategies such as repetition and reinforcement help encourage and create language success. Giving praise and structure can help English learners build new language skills that they can physically see happening. These skills are evident when they begin using them in the real world. Visually instructing students helps to build that encouragement by giving students attainable goals. These goals will in turn create higher achieving English language learners. Now, thank you very much.